Handle your high with Tadayoshi. All right, hey, welcome to the show, Luke.
Hey man, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. I've taken a little bit of break from my podcast for a couple of months as I moved.
Yeah.
I moved to Phoenix, to Arizona, as most people who know me know that. So you're my first. As I get back on the air, you're my first guest back.
Oh, nice! What a privilege.
Well,
thank you very much for choosing me.
Yeah, well, my pleasure, man. I've been admiring your career so far. I really just started seeing you a couple years ago. I think as you came into the pro scene, and man, you made some huge improvements from like 2016-17 till now. I mean, some really, really wonderful improvements in your physique, your conditioning especially, but also how thick. That's the thing that stood out to me the most is the level of thickness and density that your muscles have. Have you? Tell everybody a little bit about it. For people who may not have as deep insight into your competitive history, tell everybody a little bit about you, because you don't live here in the States. You live in the UK, right?
Yes. I live just outside of London. I live in Kent, which is a county just outside of London. So I'm probably 25 minutes away from London.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. So there's not really. I think I was talking about this today. How long have I been? I've been training for, I think, nearly 9 years in total now. Oh, okay. Which is good. So I've done pretty well. I've done okay in that time. And then I competed my first time in 2012. I was a junior. I won that show, and then I did a men's show at the British finals, which is basically the equivalent of the nationals or the USA's, I would imagine. It's our national show, and then I got second in the men's class because I wasn't allowed to compete as a junior because I'd actually turned 24 in between my qualifier and the finals. So they made me do a men's class. I got second, which is pretty good.
Oh, wow.
So my first year was really good. I had a couple of really shit years. The next 3 years was just not good. Like I wasn't getting anywhere near. I was like growing, improving my physique. My conditioning was just terrible, and it was like but it was like I'd do a diet, and then I'd go, right, I think we'd know what to do next time. So I'd have an off season, put more muscle on, start the diet again. My body's totally different. So every time that happened, it was just really difficult to work things out. And then I've been working with Chris Aceto now for 2 years.
So do you think was that some of the success or some of the change?
So you made a point that from 2017 to 2019, I made big improvements because this is my second season with Chris. So last year, 2018, I did quite well. I did okay, and my conditioning was the best it had been so far, because of Chris, and then I do an off season with Chris, and then another season this year. And Chris is just understanding me better. He's understanding the approach better, and he's also good at problem solving. So my body's a little bit annoying, where you'll like you'll like reduce my calories for like 4 days, say, and I'll lose 8 pounds, none of which is body fat. It's just I just go flat, or I just lose water, and then and I just look terrible. But Chris has kind of figured out a way now that he doesn't need to push me too hard. And this sounds like I'm being incredibly lazy, but for me, there's like a fine line of what works. If I don't push that hard, it doesn't work. If I push too hard, my body falls apart. So he's worked out now that I'm quite like sensitive in a way that if you push me for too long, nothing works. If you push me too hard, nothing works. So he knows there's a balance, and I think he's the only one I've ever worked with who understands what the balance is for me.
So when you say push hard, is it push hard in diet or push hard?
Yeah, like pulling my carbs down too low for too long, or pushing my cardio up too high for too long.
Was that some of the strategy that you used before?
Yeah, like so in the past, everyone just assumes that do lots of cardio and eat like fuck all food, you'll get shredded. So that works quite well if you're a smaller guy, or you know what, for a lot of people that just works really well. So a bodybuilder just says you just got to suffer. So I had that mentality. So I would suffer. Like I remember every contest prep I ever did until I started working with Chris. I nearly retired from bodybuilding after that prep because it was so bad.
Really?
And then when I started working with Chris, it was like nothing was difficult. It was like I was like 2 weeks out of the Olympia of the Arnold.
Feeling guilty. You're like, oh, this is too easy.
And I was like, this isn't right. And everyone was like, since we like, oh, you're so different. You're so happy this time. So I've done all the fish and broccoli 3 hours of cardio a day diets. I've done those preps. They didn't work for me. So that's why I'm looking forward to this next season, because it's my third season with Chris, and he's got a much better understanding now. So I think next year we'll get that consistency down.
Yeah, so I think you're right. There's absolutely. I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and the bigger guys, especially the bigger guys, the guys who have a lot more muscle, they tend to be a little more sensitive to some of that, and some people just in general.
I think it's just. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with Chris like this, and he just said when you're a much bigger guy, like you have to worry about flatness a lot more than somebody that's smaller, because a bigger guy like myself, someone who's like 300 in the off season, is when I go flat for too long, you run the risk of losing muscle. It's much easier for a much bigger guy to lose muscle. So that's why a lot of women and kind of even men's physique guys or classic physique guys who don't have quite the tissue of an open class guy, they can just work hard and it works. Right. So there's always like no problem solving. With me, I work hard and I just look shit. So with grit, so it's almost like working smarter, I guess, is the.
Yeah, well, the larger physique is this large engine that's just chopping out calories, and so the timeline, you can work hard for a little bit, but if you do it too hard, then So I mean, it was very often I'll do like 3 days, and then Chris will be like, right, tomorrow high carb day, I'll lose weight. Anyway, okay, same again tomorrow, and then my body's like a furnace. Then he'll drop my food down, and I'll lose like 10 pounds, and then he has to like drop cardio out, put the food back up. So I'm constantly. I think this last year I maybe followed the same diet for maybe 3 days in a row maximum. So I had like 3 things it'd rotate. I'd have like a higher carb day that he would give me, and then a higher carb day of like a burger and fries. And I think it's just because it's not that I have a slow metabolism. It will just slow down very quickly if I don't feed it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, your body, we all have these. There's an energy equation that our body has to balance, and if it doesn't, it'll find a way, right? So
the other cool thing with this is where I was doing not as much cardio or like starving myself, I was able to train like an animal, like the whole way up to stage. Like I was still pressing the 200-pound dumbbells a week out from the Arnold. So, and the Olympia, like all of these shows this year, I was, I had to make myself use less weight or use less reps or not go to failure because I was just able to train so much harder.
And has anything changed this coming? Because I think you're doing the 220 Arnold, right?
I'm not doing the 220 Arnold. Okay. I'm going to give that a miss this year just because I wanted a longer time frame to rest because I've had such a long year. I did like an 11-month diet. Oh, wow. So I wanted some time mentally, like some downtime and physically let my body just rest. So I actually start my contest prep in about 3 weeks.
For which shows?
There's I'm looking at all the May shows. There's actually a show in London in the beginning, 3rd of May, which is 40 minutes from my house. Oh, so nice. So that should be one that it'll be very different because there'll be no travel involved this time. It's just like wake up in my own bed, go to the show, hopefully win it, come home.
Okay, cool.
So that's I'm hoping that will make a big difference as well.
It should make a difference, especially on the stress level,
Yeah, exactly. So that should make the whole process way easier for me.
Nice. Now you, how close do you live to Nathan?
Yeah. He's about 4 hours away. Maybe
I'm not
4 or 5 hours. So I live outside of London. He lives in Liverpool, which is in the north of England. So he's about 3.5, 4 hours away from me.
Okay. Do you ever get a chance to go up and see him and train together? Or...
We've trained together a couple of times, yeah. I mean, we were planning on it. Obviously, he has a lot going on. I think he's been out in Kuwait as well. But we'll do something next year for sure.
He's an impressive guy. I got a chance.
Yeah, he's great.
And and I like him a lot. He's a good fellow.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal bodybuilder as well. So, yeah.
Now he has a training facility out there. I think that he runs.
Yeah. So he's got his own gym, which is the Prophecy Performance Center, and it looks really good. So I'm looking forward to going out and training there as well.
What do you do out there? I know you have an online training business, and you have you work with clients and stuff like that. Is that all you do now?
I don't even do that now. What I do, I'm currently not taking people on anymore because I've just re-signed with Redcon 1 for 5 years. So I'm quite lucky that I have a good contract for 5 years to really be able to use, and I want to use this time to the best of my ability. I don't want to it's not that I don't want to focus on other people. That sounds wrong. It's not like I don't care. It's just if I have this opportunity, I really should. I owe it to myself to kind of
absolutely
put all my eggs in that one basket. So I'll come back to coaching one day, but now I don't need to. I've just moved house. I'm now 8 minutes away from my gym.
Oh, nice.
And it's the best gym I've ever been to ever. So hopefully I'm thinking this next contest prep, just some of the distractions, not the distractions, but some of the stresses, just normal life stuff like having clients, training people, living a fucking hour away from the gym. That's all gone. So I'm hoping even next year I should be able to like lock in even harder. And
wow. How long is this next prep going to be for you? Do you take longer?
It'll be 17 weeks.
17 weeks, okay. And then, but it should be pretty kick. But are you anticipating sort of an easy prep?
I honestly don't know. It's Chris. It could be the hardest thing I've ever done. It could be easy as any. It could be just like a walk in the park. It could be anything. I have no idea. And Chris doesn't even know yet. If I say what are we doing, he's like, no idea. No, I don't know.
A lot of times you just have to see how it goes, right? How the body responds.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm just sending. I sent Chris pictures 2 days ago, and then every 2 to 3 days, he just wants pictures. I think he wants to push my weight up a little bit more before the end of the year.
What now? Where's your weight at now?
I'm hovering around 300 pounds. I'm like 310 at night. So I think he wants me about 305 when I wake up. So
and you have any anticipation on where you might fall?
I'm just thinking probably I would say mid to high 250s.
Okay. Where were you at last year at the Arnold?
At the Arnold I was 252.
Okay. Around the same for the Olympia?
No, I was like 264 at the Olympia. Okay. But I was just like a watery mess. So I wasn't. So that was not my best look of the year. So,
well, you still very impressive. I thought you were very impressive, and you have a great beard.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to notice. Thanks so much. Where's yours gone? Because you had one at the Olympia.
I shaved it, man. I was okay. So I'm 40. I'm 49, and I get a little gray, and I was getting a little self-conscious about it, so I started to color it.
The gray's good.
And I did, and that's what somebody said. I said, just gotta embrace the gray. You gotta embrace the gray. But I didn't, and I was coloring it, and unfortunately, I didn't read the instructions. I did, and I left it in too long, and it was eating my face, man. It was making me itch, and I didn't. So I had to shave it to get it to heal up right. So you're
gonna bring it back?
I'm probably gonna bring. I probably will, because I loved it. I loved the beard. I just like it. It was just so much. It just kind of got to me. I was like, I couldn't. I was at night sleeping. And I would wake up scratching my face. I was literally scratching my face off. Oh, it was horrible. But it was my fault.
I shaved mine off after the Olympia.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just went home and got the clippers, just clipped it all off.
I saw some pictures of you earlier, like I think it was 2017 or 18. Or oh my god.
When I did it, I was like, "What the fuck's my chin gone?" It was like about 4 inches. It was like I looked like no, just lip, then neck.
I'm so glad that facial hairs, beards, and stuff like that are in vogue, and it's so popular. It's more popular now.
Honestly, mine's nothing to do with popularity. It's just the cover half of my face.
Oh, really?
It just lengthens my face a little bit, so it looks a little bit less.
Man, I think I was looking at the pictures, and it sure makes you look younger when you have no facial hair. You're like,
oh yeah, like I look really young. Yeah,
you look young. I was like, wow, he looks like he's like 19.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, so it's just weird seeing somebody my size with such a baby face. I look like a Ninja Turtle or something. So, but I mean, normally, when I'm in contest prep, I just leave it to grow, and then before I compete, I just trim it right down, so it's a lot tidier and neater. And I can't be clean shaven because I just look weird, and stubble looks dirty on stage. Yeah. But if I have a beard and it's neat, it looks absolutely fine. So I've gone with that approach.
Yeah, and you got the cool gauges, and you got the good haircut. Everything matches.
It's a terrible haircut. I mean, I do this myself. It's super easy to do. I just shave the sides. And I've had these longer than I haven't had them now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've had them since I was 15. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty young.
Now, speaking of Ninja Turtles, I read somewhere that you got involved in bodybuilding a bit because you collected comic books, or was inspired?
Yeah, exactly. It's literally that reason. Most bodybuilders got in because they're like bullied, or because they played football in high school or college. Me, I just wanted to look like Superman or the Incredible Hulk. That's all I cared about as a kid. I was like, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then, when I got to a certain age and I realized people actually look like that. That's why I was. That's what I want to do.
Now, and I'm kind of a comic book nerd, so I love all the. I collected them too as a kid. As a matter of fact, I still have my comic books that I collected.
Yeah, I've got them all. I've got every single one.
I'm just getting curious.
I still buy them now. That's probably what I spend the majority of my pocket money on.
All right. Which comic books do you like, or which ones did you like when you were a kid too?
It was mostly Batman and X-Men when I was a kid.
Batman was my first favorite superhero.
Yeah, well, the first fucking dog. Sorry. The first two graphic novels I ever read was Watchman and The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, okay.
The first two. So I was thrown right in the deep end.
Yes, the Watchman. Wow, that's kind of.
Yeah, that was the first one I ever read was Watchmen.
Oh, so, wow, you got into serious stuff right away.
Yeah, so I read that straight away, and then every other comic after that kind of seemed a little bit tame, you know.
Yeah, you think?
I read Dark Knight Returns, and that was very similar. And everything else after that was a little bit weak. And then I started reading. I think it came out in 2001. I started reading Ultimate X-Men, which was which is obviously, I don't know if you've read Ultimate X-Men. It's just much darker they started it from scratch again. So it was like a reboot. And it was like a modern retelling of X-Men, and it went on for like 10 years, and I've read every single one.
I collected the original X-Men, and I was more of a Marvel comic collector for most of my collection. But DC, and when you compare them, Marvel's a bit more tame usually, as they don't show.
I way prefer DC now. Marvel haven't released anything good for me anyway for a while. DC's was better. I personally liked it a bit more a few years ago. But I've always in the movies. I way prefer Marvel because they're just better movies. But I think DC beat them on comics. But these days I mostly read indie comics and Image comics. Mostly, yeah.
I got to get back into the comic book store and start looking around again because
it's the best. Now I've moved. I need to find one because my local comic store was around the corner from my old house. So I've got to find around here.
That was my dream when I was in my early 20s. Wouldn't it be great to have a little comic book store?
It would be the best. And I've always thought that too, but I just thought I just wouldn't make any money.
You got to do it because you love it. You're not going to make it.
Yeah. I mean, I would happily do it and break even. Right. But I don't even think that would happen. I think you have to sell toys and stuff now for it to make any money.
Yeah, or all the role playing stuff and all the
games,
which is I played all that stuff too, man. I'm a total geek nerd.
I was a huge Warhammer fan as a kid. And I've recently started getting back into it again. I've just bought a load of Black Library books.
Oh, cool.
I've been watching tons of stuff on YouTube, and I'm thinking about going down to the Games Workshop and actually start playing again if I've got any time.
Yeah, my brother and I both we play with his kids.
Yeah.
They're like 19 and 21, but but they've been playing it. My brother and I grew up playing this stuff, all the role playing games, collecting comics, and it's wonderful. Yeah. I think it fed my imagination and actually helped me in my bodybuilding career and in my academic career as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it sounds like you were inspired as well. So.
Yeah. If I look back as what I was interested in as a kid, I was always into the most powerful superheroes, the strongest ones were always my favorite, the biggest ones were my favorite, and my favorite things in Warhammer were Space Marines, and they're fucking massive, they were huge. So, and all the artwork I had was and Space Marines were always just huge, and I was I've always wanted to that's what I wanted to look like.
It's kind of funny, you go back and you look at some of the action figures from the early 70s, as you progress through the 80s and the 90s and today, they go from they go from a normal looking G.I. Joe in the early 70s to a fucking bodybuilder.
When I had Action Man as a kid, he was massive. He was like a tank, and I was I remember having a little Luke Skywalker toy. It was about this about 3 inches tall, and he was huge. Because I had that, and then when I watched the movie, I was like, "This isn't the same person."
This is the same dude. I think our perspective and our expectation has changed over the years.
It's weird because these days you wouldn't be allowed to release an action figure with that amount of muscle because of fear of body shaming. That's how mental the world is these days.
I don't get that at all.
Stupid. Absolutely ridiculous.
Now, when you were a kid, were you a bigger kid, or were you?
I was stocky, so I was slightly wider in the shoulders. I've always had big arms and calves my whole life. Okay. So yeah, I was more. I'm just way more muscular than anyone in my family. We have no idea where the genes come from. No one in my family has the same bone structure as me.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's weird.
Maybe you willed it into existence.
All those comics, all that magic, just came into fruition. That's what happened.
Now? Did you grow up with a very like sort of middle class kind of environment? I'm just curious on.
It's white middle class, normal,
Which is why the comic books inspired you, right? Because it wasn't like you were getting sand kicked in your face at the beach or anything like that.
Yeah, it was not nothing like that. No, it was all I had a really pretty standard upbringing. I mean, it's like nothing out of the ordinary at all, actually. Which I think why being a professional bodybuilder is very odd, right? For where I came from. Like,
did your parents get it? I don't think my mother got it for a while.
No, not really. I mean, I don't really talk to my parents much these days anyway. But I think they're proud of it, I guess. I think my whole family knew if I were to have a job, it'd be something really obscure. So like I could make a living doing something weird. I don't think any of them assumed I'd ever have a real job. Yeah. So it was just normal upbringing. Nothing. Honestly, it was the most vanilla experience. It was just nothing. Pretty much. Yeah.
I guess you were able to throw some flavor in it.
I think I found my whole childhood extremely boring, I guess.
Yeah. Oh well.
Like, so like, and that's why being an adult was amazing. I still just love having my own house. Like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I do whatever I want. Like I can just sit and eat my pants on the sofa if I want. This is brilliant. So I'm still not quite used to being an adult, obviously.
Well, that's okay. I mean, do you have any kids? I never asked.
Yeah, I have two. I have two actually.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have two.
I'm assuming they live there with you, or no? They don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't. So my daughter's 15, and my son is 8. And my son is 8. Yeah.
And my guess is that you're no longer married, or you weren't married.
No. But I still see them as often as I can, which is good.
Cool.
In fact, we're actually going on vacation next week together. I'm taking them away, so I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
Where are you guys going?
Well, actually, so there's these like in the UK. So we're going away for 3 days over the weekend. We have these like forest constructs called centre parks. They're fucking expensive. I don't know why. I've never been. So I'm hoping for the money. It's going to be good. But you get like a cabin in the forest, and then there's like a central hub, which is apparently this huge dome with like a tropical rainforest inside. Yeah, so it's like a biodome kind of in the middle. So, but there's like swimming pools and restaurants in the middle, and then on the outside in the forest, there's all these like activities you can do. Like so, archery, we can rent some bikes and take them on bike rides and do whatever we want. And there's like animals, and it's basically got a whole thing, but it looks. But we've got a nice cabin, so and where we're going, it's been snowing, so I'm hoping it's like a snowy, Christmassy. I think. And also I'm taking my son. Well, my daughter's too old for it now, but so I'm taking my son to see Santa Claus as well while we're there. So I can't. It's just gonna be brilliant.
Yeah, I love going. I love taking I have a daughter. She's about to turn 11 this summer. And, I went on a daddy-daughter vacation a couple years ago with her, just her and I, and it was probably the best vacation I've ever had in my life.
Oh, I can imagine.
We went to the island of St. John in the Caribbean, and for 10 days, and it was awesome. And so I always recommend it to everybody just to take your children, just like daddy-daughter or daddy-son.
It's gonna. I mean, I can't wait. It's just gonna be amazing. The only issue the only thing I'm a bit disappointed about is we tried to book the dog to come with us, and they had no cabins that were dog friendly left. So my dog's got to stay at home.
What kind of dogs you got?
I got a Yorkshire Terrier.
Oh, really, a little Yorkie? I used to have a Yorkie.
Yeah, where is it? I'll show him.
Okay.
Come here.
What's the Yorkie's name?
Wicket. There he is.
Oh, Wicket. Hey.
Wicket.
Hey, Wicket.
So his name. Oh yes. Right, good boy. Yeah, he's named after Wicket from Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
King of the Ewoks. Yeah, it's the Ewok chief.
Hey man, so I've already subscribed to Disney Plus.
We don't have it yet.
Oh, you don't?
Have it? No. Are you going to bring up the Mandalorian?
That is that is like.
I've seen the two first episodes of the Mandalorian. I haven't watched the rest yet.
Well, if you like them, they get better.
It's amazing. It's some of the. I mean, I've only 2 episodes in. It's already some of my favorite Star Wars I've seen so far.
Like the Baby Yoda, man.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
He fucking kills it.
He's the best thing I've ever seen. As soon as he came on the screen, I had to say to the dog, I was like, "Listen, you're no longer the cutest thing I've ever seen, mate." Sorry.
I hope they do more more independent shows. Really, I'm sure they will, but I hope they do more.
Well, Rise of Skywalker's out next week, isn't it? So, and that's the last. Yeah, because I've got tickets. Yeah, I've got tickets to see it next week. I think it's Friday morning.
That's going to end.
So what they've said is after that, there's no more saga movies. That's the end of the Skywalker series. And all the movies now won't even be. Some of them the same won't even be in the same timeline. They might be 1,000 years before, 1,000 years after. They're going to do all the Disney Plus TV series, and they're doing the same thing with Marvel now that Marvel Studios own Marvel TV. So all of the Netflix characters are now owned by Marvel Studios again. So hopefully we're going to see like all these interconnected cool stuff happening with Star Wars and obviously with Marvel as well. So that'd be cool.
A lot of these streaming services have figured out that it's the series that are really a big draws because you can tell better stories than movies. So in a movie you got 2 hours to tell a story, and in a series you got every week. For a season or two, you get Game of Thrones, all these big 9-10 years, you could tell these wonderful stories. And so,
well, the other thing is, I mean, from my understanding as well, what Marvel wanted to do is they want to have all, because they can now got their street level characters back, so then they're making the Moon Knight series, the She-Hulk series, Wonder Vision series, the Winter Soldier, Falcon series. They're making all these cool series, but some are also a lot of the Netflix people like Punisher, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, will see all them again, and they can tell them because they now own them and they do all the production. They can just appear in the movies again. So we might have characters that appear in the movies, but we know their backstory so well because we've already watched them in the series. So when they crop up in the movies, we don't need to know anything about them because we already do. So I think that stuff's really exciting. I can't wait for all that stuff.
I know this is consuming a lot more of my evening time than I anticipated.
It's fine. This is a good conversation. I'm good with this.
No, I mean, I didn't, with all these cool shows, I'm like watching a little bit more TV than I probably should.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh my God. It drives me crazy. In fact, I watched them all, and the only series I'm watching now is Watchman. And luckily it's once a week, so it's not unlike. So I'm not having to binge watched it. So it's this season finale on Monday. So I'm looking forward to that.
I started watching some of the Watchmen, and I like it. I like that they've, but I think I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes.
Have you've read the book, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I haven't read the book. No.
Okay, so it's a sequel to the book.
Oh, okay.
So it's based. I think it's based.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, it's based. So a lot of people have seen the movie. Yeah. And they're like, what's the squid about? And they don't understand the ending of the book was different to the movie. So it's very confusing for some people who think it's a sequel to the movie when it's actually a sequel to the book.
They had to tie that movie up. They couldn't just leave it the way the book left.
No, it's just like it's just the whole ending is actually the ending of the movie is better than the book. I think it makes a lot more sense. So where it looks like Dr. Manhattan has attacked the whole planet. So, and he's now the common enemy. So now there's world peace because the only enemy is him. That makes a lot of sense. In the book, I mean, this is spoilers. If you haven't read the book, it came out in the 1980s. So if you haven't read it now, sorry. It's the ending instead of them looking like Dr. Manhattan's attacked the whole world. It's just made to look. They teleport a giant alien squid into the middle of New York, killing 3 million people. So they make it look like there's an interdimensional attack, which diverts World War III, which is shit. It's a shit ending, to be fair. But the series follows from that, and it does, they're actually going into that a lot more in the series. So actually, the series for me has improved the ending of the book.
It's probably one of the reasons why they did that, and it's a good franchise to sort of perpetuate.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the smart things that George Lucas did when he sold the Star Wars franchise, because he didn't have any intention to make any more. But he wanted creative input, didn't he? And they said no. But my brother came up with a really good idea, and we were talking about this. And because George Lucas does need the money, but he did become the wealthiest guy in Hollywood in one transaction, because I think it was like $3 or $4 billion or something like that Disney bought. How does that happen? Do they just transfer that into his bank account? I don't understand. My guess is they had to do it probably through a series of stock and how they partition the money out. My guess is that's how they did it, because that's a big chunk of change.
That's what I mean. But does he ever just have the money? That's what I mean. I don't understand how it works. It's like when you win the lottery, say you win $100 million, do they just transfer $100 million into your bank account?
Good question. I don't know.
So you can just go to an ATM and just pop your card in and see $100 million. Sweet. I don't understand how. I honestly have no idea how it works.
I don't
really want to know.
My guess is it probably has to be some kind of wire transfer that they'd have to do instantaneously.
Because that mean, I mean, I know he did get some stock shares, didn't he? I think they gave him some back, or they paid for it in stock as well.
Because he must have. It would be ludicrous if he said, "I want it all in cash," because he would be taxed so heavily.
I mean, but on 6 billion, he'd probably get taxed $1 billion, which is a lot. But when you've still got 4 or 5 billion, take it. Not bothered. So it's just a ludicrous amount of money, isn't it?
See, if it were my brother and I talked about this. If it were us, we would open source it instead of selling it. Instead of selling the franchise, we open source it and have anyone and everyone be able to have creative control over making Star Wars movies or films or books.
Well, that's a good idea, but it could get extremely messy because all the studios would have, because they would have to communicate with each other to let them know what characters are doing. Because they might have the same character, appear in the same movie.
Or it could be a lot of, it would absolutely be a lot of confusion to sort of work your way through if you were paying attention to the entire scope. But my guess would be that the best stuff would come to the top, just like anything else. But that would I liked it because I liked it when they open sourced a lot of the role playing game rules and stuff, so that anyone could make adventures and modules. And I thought that was something similar to that would be really. Yeah,
that's a cool. That is a cool idea actually. But I mean, a lot of people haven't been happy with Star Wars. I don't understand why. I think it's been brilliant.
Well, I think most people that weren't happy with the people that like myself who grew up watching it. I loved all of them. Every single.
I know the originals came a little bit before my time, but I did grow up with it. Right. And I was a kid when all the prequels came out, and I think The Last Jedi, when I went to see it, I was like, I don't know. I thought about it, went to watch it again. The second time I watched it, I was like, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it has to do with people's when you grow up and it was such a. I remember going in 1977. I was just 7 years old. I remember going to the movies and seeing this movie, and it was just blew me away. Right, like I was so excited. Like this is incredible, and it's hard to do. You judge everything based on that relative perspective, and it's like, man, it's like I think some of the people who you can't do it that way. Like that level of excitement only exists maybe a handful of times in your life for anything.
Well, when Force Awakens came out, which was like 3-4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Maybe longer.
Maybe 4.
I remember there had been no Star Wars for 10-12 years, like nothing. And then all of a sudden, Disney buys Star Wars, and we're like, oh, hello. And then all of a sudden, Star Wars stuff starts coming out, and then the trailer releases, and then you see it on TV, then the billboards go up, then the toys are coming out, and then you just see Star Wars everywhere. And I don't think I'd ever been so like anticipated a movie so much. Like when that first new Star Wars came out, it was like the most nostalgic, exciting thing like ever. And I don't think we'll see that again for a long time. So that was for me probably one of the coolest movie experiences ever. Like that was the only time when I've been in when I went to the cinema where it was absolutely packed and half of the audience were dressed up as well, and everyone, everyone else, including me, had our Star Wars t-shirts on.
Oh, really?
And it was just, you could just tell people had been waiting years for it, and it was good. It didn't disappoint. So
yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I didn't understand, but I'm not nearly as critical on. I'm able to, when I go to a movie or watch something, I'm able to suspend belief for a little while. I'm able to take it for what it is. I try my best not to judge things based on other experiences.
See, I'm not. I'm terrible at that. Like they've completely ruined Predator, Alien, and Terminator. They've ruined all of them.
Oh, really?
I nearly cried when I watched Alien Covenant. I nearly cried because they fucked it that bad.
Well, the first couple were pretty awesome. After Alien, I stopped. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, so like Prometheus was okay.
That was okay. Then, I like that. Yeah,
and then Alien Covenant completely undid all of the history of where the alien comes from. All the mystery and how ancient, and it was tens of thousands of years old, and it completely undid all that and contradicted everything. Awful.
Yeah, they probably weren't the same writers or something. I don't know.
No, but still, just everyone's seen the movie. Just the facts of the lore of the franchise. Just follow that.
I think so.
And the same. Did you see the new Predator movie?
No, I did not. I didn't. I couldn't bring myself to see it. But
it's shocking.
Is it good or bad?
No, it's awful. They've just just shit. It's like, and they tried to make it funny.
Oh, really?
I don't remember Predator being funny. I mean, there's some there was some funny
couple one-liners, maybe.
But it wasn't like cheese funny. They tried to make it most a comedy. Awful.
Oh, yeah, no. I love my favorite one was obviously the first one, Alien.
Sure. Aliens is my favorite. The sequel, the James Cameron one, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I like those movies. I actually heard that I think they're making another, because I really liked Avatar, and I think they're making another one.
I think they filmed either 2 or 3 movies back to back. They're all filmed and done. They're all, from my understanding, that all of them are in post production now. So I think the next one comes out next year, doesn't it? Avatar 2?
I thought so, yeah.
I think it's next Christmas, because I know they've done all the principal photography, because I recently read something, like a James Cameron interview, and supposedly a lot of the movie is in the oceans of Pandora, so it's like a totally different look, so that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be. I thought I was just in love with that whole world thing. It kind of
that's amazing.
It reminded me a lot of like a Native American influence. Like you could tell that some of the.
Well, it has the exactly identical story to the Disney Pocahontas movie. It's literally the same story. So that's probably why a lot of people think that. But it is a phenomenal movie. Yeah. It really is. Again, that was another one. That was another one, a little bit like, like when I was saying the excitement surrounding Star Wars when it came back. When Avatar came out, it had that similar buzz around that film as well. Like it made like 2.9 billion worldwide.
It was amazing.
And it was on the news. It was everywhere when that came out. And it was like they brought 3D back with that movie.
Yeah, I remember.
That was huge.
In that movie, James Cameron developed a 3D filming technology just for the movie.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, that was the first movie I saw in 3D in a long time, right? And it was incredible. I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Right.
And then I go see these other ones and they suck.
Yeah. Well, what I always thought about Avatar, it was like most people expect 3D to jump out at you. Mm-hmm. Avatar didn't do that. Everything went back.
Right.
So like the forest, you could see into everything. Like you could feel the scale of everything more. Oh, that's amazing. I might have to watch it tonight, I think.
Yeah. They have it on the Disney Plus.
Oh, well, thanks very much. I don't have that. I have got it on Blu-ray though, so I have to dig it out.
Yeah, they have actually, I'm really impressed. Although I want them to come out with more. Like I said, I want them to be more series, more originals on there. I really enjoying the original stuff.
And with them, like I said, they're bringing out a lot of original Marvel series, which is going to be really, really good. Don't Disney own The Simpsons now, don't they?
Do they? Oh shit!
Yeah, so I wonder if they're doing another Simpsons movie.
That's like the longest running sitcom in history. It's like
it is still good though, isn't it?
It is. Good. Well, what makes it good is that they have this really wonderful comedic social commentary.
Yeah, it's.
So, and just about everybody's been on this show, like everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it's so good.
If you go back and look, I remember being in high school, and it became really popular in like the late '80s. And I was graduating from high school in '88, so in '85, '6, something like that, it was very popular. And people would wear the Bart Simpson shirts, and there was a big buzz. Like it was so controversial because a lot of the schools didn't want, a lot of the principals and schools didn't like it because they made fun of some of the leadership in the schools, and I kept thinking, well, who cares? Like, and now the stuff the jokes they were making, the stuff that was going on is like nothing compared to the stuff that you see today. In terms of its intensity.
They managed to keep up with the like social commentary. It's still relevantly funny.
Right.
So. I still love it.
Another social commentary that is bizarrely, if you've seen the movie, is bizarrely funny and true to today. It was made several years ago. I think it might be 10 years ago. Idiocracy.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God! Watch it and then think about today, because and bear in mind it's like 10 or 15 years old, and it's hilarious. One is hilarious, but
right, I'm down.
Yeah, Idiocracy. It's pretty funny. My brother, I haven't seen it for a while. It's on my list to watch again because I remember watching it the first time, and a lot of it is ludicrous. When at the time when I watched it, you're like, that never happened, and then today you're like, oh my God, some of that kind of did happen.
What's really funny is that we've been on. This is a bodybuilding podcast, and we've just been talking almost no bodybuilding the whole time.
Oh, that's okay.
Which I like.
This is a lot more fun.
Amazing. So if anyone's like, oh, bodybuilding podcast, let's listen to this. Sorry.
No, I'm not like a total. I'm the guy that has like the Oscar parties and shit like that. I'm like a movie nerd and all these kinds of things. I like this stuff. This is the fun stuff of life. I really believe.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, I just because it's like these days, everything I grew up with is coming out again.
I know.
But but movies and real. And it's just, I'm like, what is going on? I can't. I mean, even like my favorite comic book of all time is Invincible.
I don't know that
which is it's a superhero comic by Image.
Okay.
And it's written by Robert Kirkman, who writes The Walking Dead. Or he wrote The Walking Dead. It's finished now. And it's absolutely my favorite superhero comic of all time, but by miles. So it's about a superhero's name's Invincible. He has basically all the same powers as Superman, but he's a kid, so he has all the moral dilemmas that Spider-Man has. It's basically a satire of Marvel and DC, but it goes from a superhero comic into a really in-depth space opera sci-fi comic as well. So it's about, I think it went on for 11 or 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And it has a beginning all the way to the end, and it's the same artist and the same writer all the way through.
Oh wow! Maybe they'll make that into some movies or some.
So they're making that into an Amazon animated series.
Oh, cool.
And apparently Seth Rogen is looking to make it into a movie.
Oh, nice! I love Seth.
So to me that's just mind blowing.
And also
one of my favorite comics, The Boys. That's now a series on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
And this series is incredible. So that's like, if you like dark, very, very hard R-rated adult superhero stuff, that's for you.
So it sounds like you do. But did you
Yeah,
did you get into any of the like Japanese anime, all those kinds of
stuff? Not especially. No, it was something that I just even things like Dragon Ball Z and things like that. They never caught my eye.
Well,
really.
A lot of the stuff that they come out with in like China, but especially in Japan, the Japanese anime stuff is like adult stuff. It's not kid stuff. It's totally adult. So,
I mean, like the Boys graphic novel and the comics, there's absolutely no way you'd be able to completely put that into a series or a movie. It's horrendous. Some of the stuff, like awful. But the series is incredible. So, I don't know how they get away with some of it. I really don't.
Well, I think we're pushing the limits these days of what's, especially with series and with all these things that you can do.
Yeah.
I think you can do so much more. And I'm glad to see that we're not so damn uptight about shit. Like we can't be so. We're still just a little uptight about some of this, like you were saying earlier. Some of the I don't know. I forgot what you called it. But some of the sensitivity that people have towards
the world.
Like
the world's incredibly sensitive.
I don't know why we can't laugh at if I can't laugh at myself and anybody else, then I don't know.
Well, it's just getting to the point now where you're like, it's not politically correct to say a fat person is unhealthy. You're not allowed to say that anymore because it's fat shaming. No, you fatty, you're going to die if you don't lose weight. And we care about that. So we're telling you to diet, not because you look bad, because you're going to die.
It's actually, we would like you to live a little longer if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And there's, because even in this country, there's like fat people shops for clothing. Uh-huh. No, open a gym there instead. A bit of free gym.
Hey, there's an idea, a free gym. There you go.
It's just a treadmill bar where you can have water, watch TV, and go on the treadmill. It's but it's just, the world is just a place now which is just.
I think you're right. We've become a bit sensitive.
It's like you can get away with more saying and doing more in movies and TV, but you're not. But in real life, you're getting away with doing and saying less. Like everything's racist or offensive nowadays.
I call that my brother laughs at me because I call people who like that brittle spirits, man. Don't be so brittle. Like, I'm the most compassionate, loving person that you'll find.
Yeah, sure.
I wish harm on nobody, but I'm also a person that likes to laugh at myself and other people.
It's fun. It's like everyone's too hung up on being a dick. It's just fun. Just have fun and just be nice to each other. The world would be much easier if it was a bit more like that.
I think people don't realize that what they feel inside, like oftentimes what they feel isn't really necessarily the intentions of the individual who's saying whatever they're saying.
Without that. And everyone's a lot more anxious these days. Everyone is.
And I think some of that is because we're so much more, it's easier to be vocal on and open about what you think and who you are on like social media and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of and social expectations are much higher. It's a different world these days. Yeah. Everyone is connected a lot more.
So how do you I've struggled with this with my daughter because like what to do. How have you approached it with your older one in terms of like social media and the messages that they hear? I'm just curious.
I have. You know what? A few weeks ago I did have this. I found out that some man had been messaging her pretty inappropriate stuff.
Oh, to your daughter?
Yeah, and it was really weird, like the whole thing.
Does he know how big you are?
Yeah, because he messaged me to tell me he was like, he knew who I was, he was a fan. He'd been messaging my daughter. He didn't know she was my daughter. And I was like, she's 15. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
And he was like, I didn't know that. And then she showed me the screenshots, and she told him that he was 15. He said he didn't care. So at this point, I was like, listen, mate, I will skin you with a spoon if you come near her. Luckily, he doesn't live in this country. But that's after that. It was more. I spoke to my mum and I was like, "You just need to make sure it's just she's not stupid. It's just be careful." Because I know she'd always be absolutely fine because she's smart. But it's like it's odd. It's a weird word. Like I follow her on Instagram and I told her that that's one of the rules. I follow her on Instagram. So if I don't like what I see, I'll tell
you to follow her.
Because exactly. So she was like, yeah, sure, cool. And we comment and like each other's pictures a lot. And yeah, so that's because I obviously it's more so I just can see if there's any sleaze bags doing anything. And I can see what she's.
It's sad that it's sad as fathers that we.
I know. I really would rather just leave her to it because I don't want to be involved in that stuff. Because it's not her having issues with this, other people.
Right.
It's like riding a motorbike. I'm not worried about like my friends driving a motorbike because they're incapable of riding a motorbike. I'm scared of them getting hurt because other idiots on the road.
Right. I think it's just that we live in such a larger. The world has become smaller in one respect that more people have access to us, our children, and so you have to just be.
Well, like for bodybuilding, it's brilliant.
Right.
But for a lot of aspects in life, it's awful. Like how many marriages and relationships is it destroyed?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Ended those relationships sooner than they wanted.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's and that's how shit social media is. It's like, but if you're clever with it, you can use it as a tool. Right. And that's my mindset. Is I use it very much as a tool.
I've lived on it for so long because of my business, because of what I do,
and
it's never been a bad thing in my life. I felt, but I also do. I wouldn't say I keep boundaries because I try to be very honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I absolutely have certain ways in which that I use it, and I never like I'll give you a couple examples. One, you'll never hear me rant. It's not a space for me to go and give somebody start dishing out all my bullshit and all my anger on somebody else. Everything that I put out there, if I could say it to your face, that's what you're going to see me write.
Sure.
A lot of people will post stuff or write stuff or comment on things that they would never fucking say in your face. They would never.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean the amount of comments I have, I'm like, dude, if you said that to me, I would spin your jaw in real life, mate. You would get a slap for that. It's mad what some people manage to just say to you,
right?
Like on social media. But that's another bad thing about social media is it's given the freedom for people to say what they want without fear of any repercussion. You can be as rude to another person as you like, and nothing's going to happen to you. And so many people take that advantage, and that's what trolls are, aren't they? Basically, dickheads. They like to just give their shit opinion on everything you do and belittle everything you do and anyone else does. And that's another thing I hate about social media.
It's sad because I think it says more about the person who's trolling than it does about the person that's trolling that. But I'm curious, because you have a lot of visibility, and I'm sure that at some point you noticed it got a lot more in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
How what was that like? I'm curious for you. What was that like?
It's not really. I haven't really noticed it, to be fair. It hasn't really affected my life because my real life away from the social media and the bodybuilding is quite contained. Okay. So that it doesn't really affect my real life. It's weird getting recognized out, which has been happening more and more often. So I'll just be around the supermarket and somebody will say hello, and they'll recognize me from YouTube or something.
Right? That's nice.
It's very cool, and it's also cool because it's like, wow, but it's not disregarding me being recognized. It's like, wow, bodybuilding is actually way more popular than I thought. Right. It really is. I think there's a lot more people that watch bodybuilding are fans of bodybuilding than we'd assume.
Right.
Just like a lot of people watch UFC who don't fight.
Oh yeah.
So I think it has a bit more of a fan base outside of the bodybuilding community and the gyms and things than we realize.
Yeah, especially if you're doing well in competitions and you get you get a lot of visibility.
Yeah, and I do an awful lot of content on YouTube now. So I have my own channel launching January 3rd. I think we're doing our first video.
Oh, cool! What kind of content?
Just whatever I want. It's my channel. Just do whatever I want. It'll be a lot of training, lifestyle stuff, me doing stupid shit, just everything like series for my contests, behind the scenes from all my contests, vlogs, Q&As, just everything I can think of, I'll do.
Awesome.
Within reason. And obviously with Redcon 1, I do a ton of content for those. We've been filming for those all day. We had a big back training video launched last night on the channel.
Oh, nice.
So I do a lot, and it's great. So to have those platforms to actually be able to put your work out there and showcase it is really fun. So.
That's nice. Now, speaking of workouts, to sort of switch gears just a little bit, do you what training style have you naturally gravitated towards? Because
very, very heavy, moderately low volume, absolute failure.
Oh, okay. So sort of like the old like Mike Minzer heavy duty training kind of thing.
Not that low volume,
okay.
But it's very heavy.
Okay.
But that's not on purpose. It's not like I'm not trying to be as strong as I am. It's just part of it. That's what worked for me.
Uh-huh.
Like, because I'm naturally strong, I've just kind of played into my strengths.
Right.
You know, if I do a lot of high volume, it doesn't work. But I burn out. I get joint injuries. I feel like shit. But the lower volume, heavier training, like maximum intensity stuff, like that works really well, and I really enjoy it as well.
Oh,
so.
Nice. Is that just something that you naturally evolved?
I'm British. I'm British. We're all in Dorian Yates chapter.
Okay, gotcha.
Over here, my rule is, what would Dorian do?
Oh.
You know, it's like that's my mentality. Really, he's one of the greatest bodybuilders that's ever walked the earth, in my opinion. And he was British, and so from my professional perspective, I really look up to him for that.
Yeah, I've had Dorian on my show, and I really liked. I like him as a person. I think he's really awesome. And of course, when I was growing up in the sport in the '90s, he was Mr. Olympia.
That's something we're going to be doing for my YouTube channel. I'm going to fly out to Spain hopefully next month or February and train with him for a few days and get it on my YouTube channel.
Oh, nice! You got to go to now. Have you seen all this stuff with every year? He invited me to go to his. Once or twice a year, sometimes it's twice, sometimes it's once. He goes to Costa Rica to do his
for the ayahuasca retreats. Yeah, I will. I definitely will at some point.
I wanted to go last year. I just couldn't do it. But this
year. I will do. It depends on. I mean, it may be after like the Olympia next year and everything's done. Maybe. Hopefully next year. But I mean, that would be awesome. Just doing anything cool with Dorian would be fun, wouldn't it?
Do you know much about like the ayahuasca journeys and?
I've looked into it.
It's a total.
Do you know what? I just want to do DMT because it lasts like 15 minutes, right. And the amount of people I have said how incredible and how insightful it's been into their own lives. I'm like, I want to do that. That sounds awesome. Because from my understanding, it's not like a drug. It's not like you're off your tits on shrooms.
No.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever done DMT?
I've never been able to get enough to be able to take the journey. I was able to have a little bit to I was trying to, but didn't feel safe because I didn't have anybody with me. You're going to pass out.
Oh yeah, sure. I've been told you get there's vapes now.
Yeah,
you can buy a whole vape that's enough for like one journey.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I've heard that. I don't know. I've never seen it, but if that's possible,
I think it is. It is. You just have to be able to, because my experience is that when you have to take a cup. They say it usually takes about 3 deep breaths of it.
Yeah,
and
sure.
By the time I get to the second one, man, it doesn't feel like I'm capable to get the thing to my mouth.
Really, it's like that.
Because you start to go, whoa, okay, and that's kind of. But you're supposed to. If I had somebody there with me, I probably would have felt a little safer.
Sure.
But hey, that was what I was interested in too, because it was a short.
Yeah, I mean, but it's really strange. I was talking about this with my training partner Ben earlier. We were saying that we both know people that have done it, and they've like given up their job. Or
it changes your
quit their degree, and I don't want to do it and be like, what the fuck am I going to do?
I like my shit.
Yeah, this is stupid, and like quit and just retire.
I don't think it changed. So I've had some friends who did it. I have one friend in particular, one ex-client who did it, and he came back and he explained. I said, "Well, tell me about your experience." And he said he did it, and the only way he could explain it was this. He said because he came back because he's a Greek guy and he owned a couple of businesses. And when I coached him, he had lots of anxiety. He had a hard time keeping himself reined in, but he was very different afterwards. And I said, well, he said that it changed him in that way. It made him feel calmer because he just had almost like a better view of his own life and how he fits into the big picture of things. And I said, well, how would you best describe it? He said, well, it's like what everybody says. You and the universe and everything else, however you want to describe it, we're all one. And what it feels like, he says, I can't tell you like in words, but what it feels like is love. He says it just feels like.
You know what? That's pretty much what everyone says, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird how everyone experiences almost the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. What makes you wonder?
It does make you wonder, and I do. I definitely will try it, and I'm going to try it as soon as I can get some.
All the DMT stuff, I've done a lot of research over the last several years. Joe Rogan has done.
I know. I usually won't bang on about it. He's like a vegan, like halfway through a show. Sorry, I just want to just interrupt you. Have you ever tried DMT? And it's just like he says it like in a random, like he puts it in there at any point.
Yeah,
I hear him talk about it a lot. So.
There's like I said, like I listen to his stuff a lot, and he's got a lot of there's been some really interesting stuff in research on like psilocybin, which is the psychedelic mushroom component.
I've heard of that. I mean, we don't have it.
And now just in the United States, just recently, as last year, two or three states legalized it, so they can now do.
I read it was Colorado was what like
Colorado, Oregon, and I think Washington are the ones I believe
that will if they keep legalizing that, it's just a psychedelic, right?
It just it does the same thing that essentially what DMT does. It heightens the DMT response. That
will basically change the world if they keep allowing people to have that.
And I think Joe Rogan joked about this, and I kind of agree. I don't think he's joking. He said everybody who goes into political office should do an ayahuasca journey or do a DMT journey.
That'd be so. That's a good idea. Or just fucking high all the time. Like it's just everyone's so uptight. Yeah, that's intense.
And I've always said it's because, man, if you only get anxious or worried, or when you don't know who you are. And what I mean by that is not who I am as like Tad or as a person as what I do for a living, but who I really am. Like, do I really believe I'm just my body, or do I believe that I'm something bigger than that? And if I believe I'm something bigger than that, and I don't mean to get too esoteric, but if I believe I'm something bigger and
I completely know what you mean.
Yeah, and I'm connected to it all.
I think a lot of bodybuilders, myself included, suffer from anxiety horrendously.
I'm curious. I was going to ask about this because I didn't know if you ever had any kind of issues like this.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, I mean, even like really bad spouts of depression, it's just quite normal. And a lot of the time, I'm thinking, is it the drug use?
That's what I've asked myself the same question.
I don't know if it is. Because I don't spot any trends.
Right.
It's not like I'll go on and I'll start a cycle or I'll be on a contest prep and all of a sudden I'm fucking miserable. It's because I can be really absolutely fine for weeks and then have a month where I feel like dog shit and then I'm fine again and nothing has changed.
Huh.
I have honestly not a clue. But a lot of the time I think it's just chronic overthinking.
I think we're guilty of that as a culture.
I do, and I think when you're a bodybuilder and you're kind of, I wouldn't say it's a narcissism. It's like it's not narcissism because that's kind of negative, but there's that element of you're putting your everything into your own body and you're going to be displaying your own body, which for most people is a horrendous thought, in front of an audience to be judged. And the amount of anxiety there and the overthinking everything you're doing to bring the best you can be, it does drive a lot of bodybuilders to the brink. It really does.
Do you think maybe it's something to do with because the focus of development is on this body that we have, that we do you think maybe it might mislead us into believing that this is who I am?
I want to think it more is we never get to put it down. It's not something you can just go, I need a little break from bodybuilding. I'm going to put it to rest for a few hours. It's always in there. Everything we do is aimed at our bodybuilding. It's all encompassing. Like every meal I eat, I'm trying to get the right water in, the right rest. Everything around I do in my day revolves around my training and meals. Like everything is like, it gets like 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, right, I gotta go to bed soon because fucking bodybuilding. And when you're trying, and it's like that pretty much, I would say probably over 300 days of the year. That's how it is.
So you really get a chance to put it down.
Yeah. So like if you have a job, for the most part of the weekend, you can be like, right, well, it's my weekend. I don't have to worry about it for 2 days. Bodybuilding isn't like that.
No, it's not. It's a full-time.
And it does, and I think everyone's a victim of overthinking everything. Like, and especially when I'm in a contest prep, and I try and lock myself into a really strict routine. So I try and make every day as similar as possible. So I know what's happening. I know if things are changing. If you train at a different time every day, you're fucked. You don't know what the hell you don't know what's going on.
I never understood how people could do that.
So I'm in a contest prep. I do my cardio at the same time. Everything's the same. I eat at the same times if I can. Like I try and lock it into every day is about 99% the same. So when something like I've got to go and take my car in to be fixed, I'm just like it interferes with my routine because it's so locked in. I don't really have a spare fucking hour anywhere in my day because I'm using it to take. I'm like blocking out my day so they are perfect. So when something for me like interrupts that, I find it really difficult mentally. It's just bad.
Well, I think what you're describing is that routine that allows you to focus intensely on achieving whatever it is. And that's what every successful athlete, every successful person does. It's like, so when something gets in the way of that, the question I would have is when you go through that routine for 6 months, 5 months, whatever it is that you have, like for instance for a prep, like you're about ready to embark on, and then the end result isn't what you had hoped. Whether you win, lose, or draw or whatever, the end result or the destination you arrive at isn't what you hoped for. Or
I had that.
How do you deal with that?
I don't do it very well. Because I had it in the Olympia this day. This whole year was all about the Olympia, getting to the Olympia, making my march. I got there and I looked fucking awful. The worst I've looked for 2 years. Because it was heartbreaking. I didn't get to enjoy a single second of being in Vegas because I knew that I was off. I knew it. I just knew it. In my head, I just knew it in my bones. I wasn't.
Were you able to assess afterwards?
It was just a question. I mean, I got second in Tampa 5 weeks before. Mm-hmm. So I got second in Tampa. So I lost to Dexter, and I thought this is easy. All I got to do is fly home and just carry on doing what I was doing. Got home. I was like, I'm so jet lagged. I feel awful. Next day, I couldn't get out of bed, and I thought it's just the jet lag. 3 weeks later, I felt exactly the same. No appetite, incredibly tired. Like the jet lag didn't go away. I couldn't lock into that routine properly. It was like mentally and physically, I was just done. I was just burnt out. And to lock back. So mentally, and because I was physically not seeing what I wanted, so everything I'd been working all year wasn't the same. So it was just. Mentally, I was like, "Fucking hell, come on!" And it was driving me crazy. Like, and Chris had a plan to push my weight up a little bit, and that freaked me out as well, because I'm like 10 days out for the Olympia, over 280 pounds. I was like freaking out, and I think it was just too much dieting for too long. My body wasn't responsive, and mentally I was just so burnt out. I didn't enjoy it at all. And the reason why that was so gutting is I spent the whole year working towards this one thing, and I did get there, which is great, and I loved it. But I also hated it because I knew how I looked completely ruined the whole experience.
Well, one perspective would say that at least you got your worst one out of the way.
Sure, exactly. That's the way. That's exactly how my mind works.
Now, next year, it could be.
Yeah, and also the other cool thing is I've seen the venue, I've seen the hotel I stay in. I've been in Vegas. I can visualize. I can remember the smells, the sounds, the sights. I can remember it all, so I can visualize exactly what I need to do next year.
Do you do that with a lot of your goals and stuff like that? Because I'm big on visualization.
When I can see it, I can do it.
Okay. Now, would you have a process for that? Like, do you?
No, it's weird. It's like sometimes in my head, it's like I just know. Like when I turned pro, I placed 6th the year before in my weight class, and I was like, I'm going to win the entire show next year. I know I am. That's all that matters. And I just knew. I just told myself I was going to. I knew it for a fact. That's how much I believed it, and it happened. And I put the work in. I didn't skip a beat. It happened. When I got this year in the Arnold, I told everyone I'm going to be top 6. the amount of people that laughed at me was insane.
Why would they laugh at you?
Because they're like top 6 of the Arnold. Fuck off. No. And I was like, yep, give me top 6.
Because they were judging you based on your past.
And they're like, but you can't beat this guy. You can't beat this guy. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, right. Well, I know I am. So, and I did.
When I saw you
in my mind, I want to be top 3. That was always my goal, was top 3. I never said that out loud because that is mental. But I said top 6, and I believed it, and I made it happen.
Yeah, you got third.
And I knew I'd get to the Olympia. And then, but when I qualified and everything was like set in stone, it's like I didn't see that. It was kind of, I lost focus on the final goal a little bit more. Which is easy to think of that now. It's been so long ago. I can look back and I can recognize these things. But at the time, I had no idea. I just thought I've got to get it done.
What's in the visual? Finder this year. How do you see that?
I'm gonna win the UK show. I fucking have to win that show. It's like it's the first time my family and friends will be able to see me compete ever.
Oh, very nice.
It's 40 minutes from my house. I have no excuses not to be able to win that show. Okay. Which just sounds incredibly arrogant. Putting it.
No, it doesn't.
It's not. I have to tell myself I'm going to win that show to make it happen. So when I put it out there publicly, it's like it kind of reaffirms it in my mind because I put it out there now.
Right.
Everyone knows what the expectations are. So and I know that physically I'm good enough to win almost any show, almost. So I don't see why. So it's definitely possible that I can win. So why not?
Absolutely.
I'll win.
Well,
so
when I saw you at the Arnold, you were the most impressive person to me because I'd never seen you in that condition before. So, and I thought, wow, how come I haven't seen this dude like this before? Yeah.
And you know what? Like this year, there was only maybe like the Arnold Australia was actually the driest I've ever been. I just faded so bad because they worked us so hard and the heat was insane. So that's something I've learned for this year. Indy, I looked okay. I was really watery from the front. I was really dry from the back, but really watery from the front. But I'd also just done like 9 flights in 2 weeks and been from the UK to the US, to the UK to Australia, Australia to UK, UK to the States, all within 2 weeks. So my body was like, what are you doing? And then Tampa, I was really good there as well. And that was just as easy as the Arnold. I was a touch flat because I was obsessed with telling Chris I had to be as dry as possible. So I came in a bit flat, but still that was a good look. So for the Olympia, I thought all I got to do is replicate that. I've done it twice this year. I've come in looking great. So I know what I'm doing now. And it just nothing worked. But for next year, I think me at 100% next year with all the improvements I hope I've made, I think I can be top 6 in the Olympia. I know I can. I know I can be top 6 Olympia.
I think you can too. So if that means anything, I think you can.
Yeah. So, but I don't like. I never make any of those predictions or to myself until I start the contest prep. Right. Until I've got the engine going, and then I can start feeling it. Like right now, I know I can win it, but I won't know until I'm in it.
You want to be in the swing of things, if you will.
Yeah, and then I know, and I have honestly the best setup personally and professionally I've ever had now. Okay, so I like everything we talked about earlier, like my moving house, my being able to focus 100% on bodybuilding for the first time really ever in my life. So, and I need to make sure every day is perfect. And if I can, the least amount of bad days I have, the better I look. And I intend to have 0 bad days.
Good.
Yeah.
Is it just for having 0 bad days for you is really more about routine, right?
Yeah. So all I need to, all the prep this year, everything I've done is I wake up in the morning, I have a mental checklist of every single thing that I need to do that day. And I will not go to bed until every single thing is done that day. So when I get into bed at night, I can go, I have done everything I need to do today to be my best. Absolutely. Good night.
Man, that sounds like something I've said 1,000 times to a lot of my athletes. I said, look, man, all you got to do is worry about what you can do. Know what you have to do every day, and then don't worry about
And I do everything I can to the best of my ability. That's it. It's simple as that. And I have like a little checklist. And because I have like a little, I'll over there actually. I've got a little whiteboard that I write things down. So anything different I need to do that day, I write it the night before. So I can fit things in and I can change things. But because I've planned it, it's there to do. I can do it.
I love it.
It's because I'm horrifically disorganized. Naturally, I'm so disorganized. It's unbelievable. But when I'm in a contest prep, it's the only time when I really lock into a routine, and I love it. And when I'm in it, I'm like, this is so easy. I could do this all year round. I can't. so that's why I like the off season, because my routine's a lot looser. Especially now it's Christmas. Like, I've eaten twice today, and it's like nearly 8 o'clock at night, because for the next 2 or 3 weeks I'm just letting my body rest a little bit more. I'm not force feeding. I'm not training like an animal. I'm going away with the kids. So when I start my prep in January, my body and mind will be fresh and ready to lock in.
Speaking of which, like, how much do you typically, how much calories do you typically get in?
I mean, like, so up until this week I've started pulling back on the food.
Okay.
So if I'm not hungry, I just won't eat. Because I want that freedom, because I know I'll miss it when I'm in a routine, despite loving it. So typically when I'm blasting it like hard in the off season, training's good, everything's good. It's about 5,000 calories.
Okay.
Which isn't excessive. It's a lot, but it's manageable and it works. It's enough for me.
Yeah, that's a lot. The heaviest I ever got was like 272.
Yeah.
When I was young, a bit younger, and grad school. I was never above 10%, but I remember I had the force feed. It sucked. I really didn't like.
That's one thing I've been lucky with. I've never needed to really force feed.
It was horrible.
I bet it was. It sucked.
Yeah, I had about a little over 6,000 calories a day. And it was just like every meal was like, oh man, I gotta eat again. I did it. I didn't think about it too much. I was like, nope, gotta do it. Just do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I totally get it that nowadays, today, like I'm a bit lighter, and I don't force feed myself. If I don't eat when I'm not hungry, I've just 34 years of bodybuilding for me, and most of those years being competitive. Yeah. I just decided when I retired that I'm not going to do the force feed. I'm not going to stay.
Sure.
I want to enjoy. I still eat clean, but I want to enjoy my life.
Well, the other thing is with me as well, I don't force feed anymore because I want to keep my midsection really tight. Right. So if I'm there's a difference between being not hungry and being stuffed from your last meal. There's a massive difference. Right. So if my stomach's empty and I'm just not hungry, I'm like, well, I've got to eat. That's what it is. If my stomach's still full and I've got to eat, then I won't, because I don't want to be distended 6-7 hours of the day. I want to, because I try and wear a waist trainer as much as possible now as well, just because midsections are a big deal. Yeah. Like, all of a sudden they're like the biggest deal in bodybuilding. You have to have a tight midsection. It's insane. Like, no one cared 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it had to do with, I remember seeing in the 90s, as we got into the 2000s, a lot of the guys, I think a lot of the overuse of some of the drugs or just this desire to really push the envelope in terms of size. And what it created was a lot of guys, some really great bodybuilders, but a lot of bodybuilders who probably were never destined to be that big, and they just blew out their waists.
This is another reason why I learned to do a vacuum in my front double. Like, I was obsessed with doing that, and now everyone's doing it, which is cool. It's like a I'm not saying I started it, but it's like I notice everyone does it now, which is, I think it's a good thing. I think I am one of the bigger guys now.
You are, and you look on stage, and you don't look. To me, I don't think you look like you have a very big, like a oversized waist or anything like that.
No, I don't. But I don't want to keep. I want to get it a bit maybe tight, even smaller and tighter. Like at the Olympia, I did have a lot of digestive issues because I was ill just under 2 weeks out. I had a stomach bug, and I couldn't eat properly for about a month. Even like 2 weeks after the Olympia, I couldn't. Like everything.
The travel, the different bacteria.
No, it was definitely the sick bug. So I was vomiting, and I had like basically just both ends for 2 days. So I empty myself out, and then like everything after that, even like the water balance, because I dropped so much water from not being well, and I must have just completely emptied it out of my stomach. Like, I wasn't digesting food. I just was holding a lot more water afterwards, and I just wasn't. And it took a good couple of weeks for my stomach to really settle back in. So at the Olympia, it was really hard to keep my waist tight because it was like it was inflamed, even though I had barely eaten anything. Yeah, it probably was. That was horrible, and that was again playing on my mind. Because I remember doing the press conference, and I was sat there, and my stomach was killing me because I just ate a meal before, and it felt really distended. And normally, when you're carving up for a show, your body just pulls food in.
Right.
It loves it. Like, you'll eat a meal, you're starving again in an hour. It's great. And this was the opposite. Like, every minute. So that was because of my last show. So I need to make sure my waist is just night and day at the next one. So
I wish that we had known more about the waist trainers back when I was starting, because I didn't. These haven't really been popular until more recently.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, they don't work. Well,
they work.
They do work, but it's not like they make your waist smaller. That's not which is what a lot of people assume. It just, when you wear them, you're just constantly pulling your waist in.
Right.
You're keeping your TVA as tight as possible. You're pulling everything in. And when you wear it enough, when you take it off, it's just so easy to be on stage pulling your waist in you because it's so natural to you. Because if you ever relax when you're wearing a waist trainer, that's when it's uncomfortable. Right. So you have to always be pulled in tight.
Well, there's a whole community of people. I didn't know this until several years ago when I was coaching a lot of bikini ladies, and I was advising to wear some corsets. And, and this is a true statistic. Most of the corset wearers in the world are men.
Really?
Yeah, and they're mostly in the UK and Europe. But they wear them under their suits to have them give them a good shape. It's not for bodybuilding. It's just for. Yeah. But they're the old-fashioned kind where you cinch them up. And there's a whole weird kind of community around it. Yeah, that does this. I forgot what they call it, but where they cinch the waist until you can get, because you can reduce the waist size by several inches, and some of these people will do it down to like 20, 22, 23 inches. And for a guy, it looks grotesque actually, because it's obviously been distorted, it could be unsafe because you're moving organs around. So
exactly. Where the fuck do your organs go? Your intestines just bunch up under your lungs.
I read some posts and stuff from people who were in this community, and apparently it's this thing you get. It's like a addiction. People get hooked on it, and they love the feeling of being bound up on, at the waist. And
that's odd.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
well,
weird.
I don't wear my waist trainer to that extent.
No.
But but that was one of my other targets for this year. I think this past off season is one of the last ones when I can really push my weight up and put on some size.
Do you feel like you still need to? I mean.
Oh yeah, it's just certain body parts I want to bring up. That's all it is. It's not about overall mass. It's about prioritizing certain body parts. But weirdly, I made a lot of progress this year, even though I was in prep the whole year.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, weird. Like maybe I just kept.
I've often believed that, at least it's been my experience working with a lot of athletes over the years, that some athletes, there's a certain sweet spot in their timeline where their bodies just, this is where their bodies start.
For me, it's about 16 to about 6 weeks out. I feel like I'm actually making improvements in my physique in that time. So I get about 10 weeks of really good, because my body's just like firing on all cylinders.
It could also be because you're more regimented.
But there is that as well. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in the off season, I still eat my meals. It's not perfect. Right. Which is kind of, I believe that's the best way. I don't think you should be in fifth gear in the off season.
No, I mean, you can. People say burnout, but there's only, like, if you got in your car and put the throttle down, hours and hours and hours, something's gonna break soon. It's good. I think it's good to. I also think staying lean and eating too clean in the off season for a lot of people is detrimental to the prep. And Chris Aceto also kind of it's something he instilled in me is like, he was like, it's actually good to get a bit out of shape because it's so much easier to get in shape, because it's like a pendulum swing. It kind of swings harder the other way. So it's not how you start a prep necessarily; it's how you finish them. Right. And if
you're eating a lot more and you're pounding food, you're a little bit fat. And you give yourself enough time. It can't. For me, anyway, the body fat comes off so fast. Yeah. Like if I'm quite lean and start a diet, and I've been really clean my food, my body doesn't go right. Let's go, and it starts to torch. It doesn't do that. It takes a while to get into it. But if I'm if I'm about 300 now, I'll be 275, 280 within the first month. But it'll be a big chunk of body fat will come off, just because I'm put cardio back in. I've taken all the shit food out, and I'm bang on. It's like flipping a switch.
That's, by the way, that's what I used to call it. That was my metaphor in my head whenever I start my diet. I was like, okay, time to flick the switch, and and it's like turning the light on in a room. And people used to ask me, how come you never cheated? Because I never cheated on my diets. I always did everything. Yeah. I always did all my cardios. And I said, because I don't turn it off until the show. Like that's when you turn. Like
exactly.
It's just a promise that I made to myself.
I'm exactly the same. So when I'm in the off season, I'm like, the goal now is to eat, rest, and grow, and just train hard. That's it. It's easy. And then, Chris has me eating like 3 or 4 meals off a week, like cheat meals. So I'll have like burger and fries or whatever I want. Like my last meal, I'll just order food, and I do that 3 or 4 days a week. and my food's high calorie anyway. You take all that out, you add in half an hour of cardio in the morning. Fuck me, the body's just gonna. It was just so much body fat would just fall off straight away.
So now, what is your go-to cheat meal food?
It's normally like I'll order like chicken tenders, a couple of burgers, fries, and like a milkshake maybe.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Some people have some weird, some weird likings for food.
Like, I prefer things like pizza and stuff, but to me that's just shit. It's just there's zero benefit. It's just, and it makes me feel like shit for the next day. It doesn't digest well. But so like a burger and fries, that kind of thing. And I don't eat it because I'm like, oh, I love burger and fries, which I do. I'm eating it because it's like it serves a purpose. So I normally eat the food that's like easier for me to eat. It's like part of the diet for me now. Okay. But then again, if I eat a meal and I'm like, I'm gonna eat a couple of donuts, I'll eat them. As long as I eat the rest of my clean meals for the day, I'll eat whatever I want in between meals.
Okay.
And then so when I start my prep, you cut all that out, reduce the calories a little bit, do some cardio, boom, your body's just like a furnace real quick.
Now, this is a side question, but I'm curious. Living in the UK and eating specifically the meat there, and coming to the States or going to other places, especially the United States, I think there's like we grow our meat different. Like we have from different sources.
Your meat's awful.
I know. So can you really?
Yeah, it does affect me. Your beef is normally okay.
Okay.
The steaks are normally pretty good, but the chicken and the egg whites are just terrible. Even I don't really find good eggs either.
Really? In
the US. Yeah, like they really like the yolks are like the membrane of the yolk's very thin. They're a very light yellow. They look a bit ill. They don't look.
They probably are.
Wholesome. Yeah, and the chicken just has a different smell. It's a bit more rubbery. It shrinks a lot more when you cook it. Even if I buy the good shit, it's still not the same as here.
I know that here in the United States, everything is geared towards profitability, geared towards producing as much as they can for the least amount of money. So the chickens are, they're pumped full of antibiotics because they coop them together in large quantities. So that affects what's being produced.
Of course.
That's why I was asking, because whenever I've gone to other places, it does taste different. And and even in the last 25 years of the last 34 years of bodybuilding, 25 of it, the meat changed for me. I know it has, because I responded differently to a lot of the meat when I was younger than and it tasted different. I distinctly remember
it's almost like I'm not surprised there's so much of a vegan.
Yeah, well, there's a big push for plant-based stuff
in the United States because your meat's dog shit.
It's crap.
Over here, it's pretty good. Yeah. It's because our laws are different. Even like the chicken, even the burgers you get from McDonald's here have to be locally sourced, have to be British. Like in the chicken nuggets, is only 100% chicken breasts are allowed to be in them.
Well, I think it shows up in physiques too.
Yeah,
I think the quality.
I think one of the best places in the world to live if you're a bodybuilder is in the UK.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's one of the places. Absolutely.
It's everything here is accessible. Nothing's expensive.
Now I heard that it was expensive to live there. Cost of living. I heard that the cost of living in the UK is reasonable.
Oh yeah, it is. I've more meant like in terms of bodybuilding. So everything that goes into bodybuilding is relatively inexpensive here, and I do believe for the most part, we have the best gyms here as well now. We're so spoiled in this country now. For over the last 5 years, all these gyms have just popped up all over the country that are phenomenal.
Oh really?
That there's it's just mind blowing. Like there's so many incredible bodybuilding gyms in this country.
So for you, when you compare the gyms there to some of the ones here, you maybe you've been to, because I agree, the stuff that's coming out here, it's all foofy and it's like crap. It's mostly cardio stuff, and so for me, I don't. For training purposes, it's hard to find a good training gym here.
Well, in the United States, you've got a lot of like destination gyms where they're like famous old gyms.
Right.
You have all the historical gyms in bodybuilding, but there's not a lot of the newer ones that are coming out that are really good. Here we have
So what
8 minutes.
What makes a gym great for you?
Plates, dumbbells, and bars are the most important thing. So if you've got good dumbbells, good plates, and good bars, it's a good gym.
Okay.
And most gyms have shit dumbbells, shit plates, and crap bars. And that's the shame. But the gym that's 8 minutes away from my house, called Muscleworks, Orpington, it's probably it is the best gym I've ever been to, ever. Because the owner John, he's a bodybuilder himself, and it's like his passion project is this gym. And I remember just after the Olympia, he was like, we were talking. He was like, "What body parts do you need to want to focus on next year?" And I was like, "Well, hamstrings mostly." And he ordered like 5 new hamstring equipment.
Nice.
Like he's got like an inverse curl, another glute ham raise, a prime leg curl. I think he's got something else coming as well. I can't remember what it is. And he's always improving it.
Oh, nice.
So when I joined the gym, he was like, "What do you think we need?" And I was like, "You need new plates and you need new bars." So we bought all Texas power bars, and the whole gym is all Ivanko cast iron plates, brand new. And Ivanko dumbbells up to 240 pounds, just all matching plates, all Texas power bars, and he's got loads of other different specialty bars as well. Not only that, he has pretty much the best leg room I've ever been to. He has 4 hack squats, 11 leg presses, and they're all different.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing, and because he loves it.
Have you been to I don't know. Have you been to Kuwait, our oxygen gym?
No, I haven't, which is why I use the word probably a lot of the time when I say what's probably the best gym in the world, because I haven't been to them.
It's a pretty phenomenal gym. I mean, it's 4 levels, and each level is specific to certain body parts. Like there's a whole level for legs, whole level for back, and it's a wonderful gym. And
but you know what? I don't know if I like that.
I really liked it. I liked it because it was something very different, and it was focused on hardcore training. It wasn't focused on.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So it's very and then it's also so it was kind of weird. I judged the show. I judged the Kuwait Pro there, and we went to go work out. I worked out in the gym, and I was amazed. Wow, this is a wonderful gym. And I'm working out, and there's guys there in the gym that they hire that are they're not really trainers, but they're there and to go and remove and move your plates and help you with
caddies.
I know. So I'm like, no, man, I got this, bro. I'm good. You know, I'm like, I can do my own weights. Like I'm kind of used to that. You know, but and they got a guy in the bathroom to help you there. I'm like, it's just, but as I was working out, I'm like, man, I said. I turned to one of my other judging friends. And said, "Hey, am I missing something? Something feels off about this gym." He's like, "Yeah, there's no women here."
Oh yes, yeah, that's
like,
true. Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Yeah, it's like a giant sausage party."
yeah. But like, I do want to go to the oxygen gym there. I mean, is there's a main one, isn't there? I don't really know if there's a few.
The main one. Yeah,
the main one. I do want to go and see it just because it's like a bit of a mystery, isn't it? So
yeah, I think you'll like it. I'm sure you'll get.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. But it's just like I went to Gold's Gym in Venice last year, and I was like,
less than exciting.
I was like, I don't really like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
So I was, and that was really disappointing. I never got to see Dorian's Temple Gym because it closed down before I got a chance to see it.
I heard a couple years ago he was opening up one there in Spain, but I don't know if it closed.
No, he hasn't got. No, he does. I don't know if it's his, but I know he trains people out of the gym there. But I don't know if it's his. It may be. I'm not sure.
Talked about this giant mural that they painted of him and off of some of those black and whites that were famous.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen it. Maybe it's something he's still planning. I don't know.
It was supposed to. Maybe it wasn't his. Maybe it was somebody else's.
Okay.
I don't know, but I thought he said it was something he was looking forward to.
But I mean, just in the UK in general, we have so many good gyms here because the bodybuilding community is so big, and
has that grown a lot in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's huge now. It's huge. I love it
because it seems
it
just seems like well, it used to be. I remember that the U.S. was the sort of the center of the bodybuilding world of sorts, mostly because most of the champions and most of the athletes were coming out of the U.S. and we had more facilities but now it seems like all the athletes that I'm hearing about and that I see that are exciting are coming from other countries.
Yeah. I mean, the UK scene's massive. I mean, we have obviously got myself, Nathan Diasha, James Hollingshead, who's actually my training partner now, which is really cool because he's also one of the strongest pros out there. We've got Samson Dowder, Mark Hector, we've got loads of other guys. We've got a couple of awesome new pros like Rob Bowman Taylor, he's phenomenal. I mean, I'm probably forgetting guys because there's that many of them. Like our good friend Jamie Jahal, he's like, I think he's 6'7". Oh, wow. So I think he's the tallest IFBB pro in the world, and he's competing next year as well. So there's all these guys and we've got we've got 212 guys and open class guys that are all phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to seeing and I just forgot as well, Sasan Harati. I don't know if I don't know if he will compete again, but he's phenomenal as well. Like this whole country is just crawling with pros and incredible amateurs as well. And now we have a pro show here next year.
Which one's that?
The London one that I'm doing in May.
Okay,
So we have a women's physique show as well in March, and then we have a men's open in May.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
It really is.
That was going to be exciting. Who else do you know? Who else is going to be you're going to be competing with? Who else?
Absolutely no idea.
I'm just curious if you know.
And I honestly have no idea. But I know that Samson Dowder's doing it, another UK guy. But honestly, I'm not worried about anyone.
Right.
I'm only worried. I can only control myself. So.
You got home court advantage.
I do. I get to eat good chicken all the way up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's going to be just. I've never in my entire life woken up in my own bed and gone and competed in a show.
Oh wow! So that's going to be different.
Yeah, it's mad. So I'm hoping I can go, wake up, go and win, come home to bed, and then I decide whether I want to do New York or Indiana or something following that. But it's yeah, it's. I mean, there's a huge amount of pressure that I put on myself for this show as well.
Well,
it's the UK show.
Right. Well, don't think about it too much. Just go do.
No, I won't. But I enjoy that. It's like
okay.
I'm training with James. James isn't doing it. Right. He did it last year. No, this year. Sorry. And he got third. And he'll be in his off season. And this will also be the first time in my life I've ever trained with a pro for a whole contest prep. Because my training partner Ben, he's actually staying with me now, but he lives in Texas now. So this will be my first contest prep without him. He's going to fly back here and spend the last month here with me. But it's just going to be a whole different dynamic. I live in a different place. I'm going to be training with a pro, and I get to train in the best gym in the country, and I get to do a show near my house. So this whole contest prep, this whole thing is alien to me, but on paper it should be perfect.
That's all that matters, man.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. You'll get a lot of support.
Oh yeah. We're going to document everything with my YouTube, Break On YouTube. We're going to put everything, as much content out there as we can. So it's going to be really good.
Well, I think, man, good luck on the prep. I know you said you're going to start it after the holidays. Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, so I'm going to get Christmas out of the way. Probably January 1st, I'll start prep. I'm already speaking with Chris, and he's just like, it's Christmas. Don't worry about it. He said it's fine. Just keep sending me pictures. He said, tell me what you've eaten, and we'll just go from there. So.
Well, I know you'll have a successful prep. Good luck, no matter what.
Well, thank you very much.
But what would you let everybody know how to get a hold of you if you want them to? If some people want to, I don't know if you're doing appearances.
Honestly, pretty much the only social media I really use is my Instagram, and it's just Luke Sandoe. It's just at Luke Sandoe. It's just my name, one word. You can, if you want to email me, it's lukesandoe@gmail.com. I have a website, lukesandoe.com. That's mostly a coaching website, but at the moment I'm not taking anyone on. Right. So. If you want to contact me for coaching, don't contact me. Contact my training partner Ben, and his email is benchowpt@gmail.com. So if you want to coach, you want it to be me. I'm not available, but Ben is. But he's better than me, and he's open. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck this year. I'll be seeing you there. I'm sure I'll see you at the Olympia, and I really appreciate you.
You'll be at the Arnold, yeah?
I'll be at the Arnold as well, yeah.
I'll see you there.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah. Lovely.
You'll be there at the Redcon booth, or?
I will be there at the Redcon booth pretty much all weekend, so okay. Which I'm looking forward to.
And then I look forward to seeing some of the content on your YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna actually in May, I think May and June. So June's my birthday, June 5th. My brother and I, my twin brother and I, are gonna head out in probably May sometime. I think late May or something for our 50th. It'll be our 50th birthday. We're gonna head out there, and we're probably gonna go to Brussels, Bruges, and probably I want to make my way to the UK as well.
Yeah.
So
that'd be good.
So
if you do, let me know.
I will.
Yeah, let me know.
We were looking forward to drinking some nice beer. We like German and Belgian beers.
We've got good beer. We've got some good beer here too.
I know.
So let's come over. I'll take you out for a beer.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time this evening to
anytime, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, and I'm glad that you're. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about some comics and some movies and stuff. So that was pretty awesome.
that was the highlight of the podcast. Let's be honest. Yeah. That was the best bit.
Stay on here after I stop recording. But thank you so much for taking the time today, and I appreciate it. And we're out.